much. Thank you for being here. One of the things that I would do first of all is just pay tribute to the pastor that was here before I took over, Father Schlafer, because he was great also. And he had a great reputation. Many of you probably, lived under his pastorate. And I know that, one of his favorite things was the picnic. And when I was at St. John's, he was here. There was always kind of a rivalry as to who had the best picnic and who had the biggest picnic. But if I remember right, Paul, didn't he wear a Hawaiian shirt on that day? Yes. But at any rate, if you had asked me 57 years ago what my priesthood was going to be, it certainly would have been boring. And I'm glad it didn't turn out that way. Everybody asks, do you know Father so-and-so in Kewaskum? I say, no. Well, do you know Father so-and-so in Wausau? I say, no. I said, but I know some very exciting people, and I'll have a chance to meet them in the hereafter. And that'll be enough. But at any rate, I've got that whole list of rowdy friends that are mine. And the truth of not knowing a priest is the fact that only Ken Frisch is here today. So stand up, Father. And I had him as a student a long time ago. But it's been very exciting. And I've really enjoyed just the people that I have lived with. They've certainly brought a lot of excitement to my life. And speaking, just of rowdy friends, I think of Paul Stender, for instance, who brought all those jet vehicles up here. We burned the top off of the highway, and then we blamed it on the snowplow people. That they didn't know what they were doing when they put all that salt on there. But Paul, believe it or not, I think 3 years ago, the doctors told him on March 27th he was going to die. And I anointed him, and then I came back about, 2 weeks before March 27th, and I was going to anoint him again, and he said to me, didn't you just do that? And I said, yeah, but you need a booster shot. And, a lot of my friends have needed booster shots if they're going to get into heaven, I can tell you that. I'm thankful for the press that's here today. They've been great friends of mine down through the years. And I always tell them, this is the deal, if you're really good to me, then when it comes to my funeral, you'll get steaks. But if you're not, and Rosalie, my secretary, has the checklist. If you're not, you're going to get hot dogs and ham. Because do you know how many in 57 years, how many ham sandwiches I've eaten? Yeah. It's been something else, and sometimes it isn't the best ham either. But at any rate, I am really just thankful. I always say, there's a gospel where there's those special rooms in heaven, and I have this special room where, a lot of you are easy to get into heaven, but some of you aren't. But it's those people that I'm trying to get into heaven, and I've really just busted my hind end getting them there. And, I think to myself that room is going to be filled with all of those rowdy friends, starting with Dick Trickle and Carl Wagner. And, when I get to heaven, they better be there in that room. There'll be a lot of people who walk by and say, I'm going to be in that room. And St. Peter says, no, you can't be in that room. It's just too much for your heart. You couldn't take it. But at any rate, I just would like to thank all of the people at St. James. It's been a blessing to be here. Sometimes I can really be down and just in the dumps, and I get about halfway up here and everything changes. And I think that that's due to a couple things. And that's what's made this parish thrive, and it's made it grow. One is just the upbeat spirit of the whole parish and all the people that are in it. And the second thing is the choir. I think that in itself, has just been a blessing and a real selling point of this parish. And I'll never forget, I always used to say on Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day, that I wanted 1,000 people. And I would tell the ushers, if you see a person that's pregnant, count them as 2. And one Labor Day, we had 1,005 people at both masses. It was really just fantastic. Another thing, and I want to find out, did you sing more than 2 verses of songs today? I just don't know about that. Because I've always had a rule, and especially on those big days, 2 verses, and if you do anything to slow this mass down, I'll shoot you and leave you by the roadside. We're moving on. Another thing I've always loved preaching here, and we've had some real highlights at Masses. I don't know what Jesus thinks, but I thought they're great. One of the best was the poopy diapers, when people came in and they leaned into my microphone unknowingly, and the late grandma said, the reason that we didn't get here on time was the baby had poopy diapers and we had to change them out there. And then Gail yells out of the choir, yeah, and they threw them in the back of your pickup truck. But anyway, working with Lynn, has been great. Doing the combination things that we've done together has been fantastic. Like we took that song out of the play Chicago and did He Had It Coming. And we did in Even the Darkest Hour. And All Is Well, I Will Not Abandon You, Don't Let Go, Don't Give Up on Hope. And I actually emailed the musician that wrote that, never expecting to get a response. Got a beautiful response back from him. And then there was Sleepless Bob when we did the Every Saint Has a Past and Every Sinner Has a Future. And of course, who will ever forget the all-time great, the Monster Mash. There couldn't be a Halloween that went by without us doing the Monster Mash. We might have to do it yet this afternoon. And then, there are other things. Don't forget the fireworks that we had after the 5:30 Mass on Christmas Eve. That was always exciting. I'll never forget the first one. When fireworks is going off, somebody called the police and said there's shooting on the north side of town. And another lady called in and said, no, it's just Father Grubba celebrating Christmas. But we always had things like that going on. Another thing that was exciting, some of you might have been there, but I was honored by the Catholic Charities for leadership, and I had to give a speech, and we had it all set up that when I said a certain word at the end of the speech, Gail Boer would stand up and ring a bell and say, shut up, Grubba, you've said enough. And there was a nun that laughed so hard she almost fell out of her chair. The bishop hasn't recovered yet. Again, I could never thank St. James Council and the parish enough for the support of St. John's School. It was just fantastic. And I thank you for all of that financial support, but I thank you also for just being present at different events. Like the Christmas program was the best that any Catholic school ever put on, and that Passion Play also was the best that ever could have been done. And then, of course, there are many other things, people that would visit, like Bobby Allison, Carl Wagner. I had him come up once and to explain the difference between a dyed-in-the-wool Catholic and a convert. And Bobby, of course, is dyed-in-the-wool. If I stopped, he could say Mass. But Carl said, as a convert, this is how it goes. you look, you can never find your place in those missile lights. And so when it comes to the prayers, you just go, and that's it. It's really been a delight. You know, and again, another final thing I would end on is the remodeling of this place. You know, we outgrew the church, so we had to do something. There's a rule in the diocese that you have to get permission from the building committee if you want to spend more than $50,000. And you know how long it takes to get permission? If you've ever had to operate things like that, you know. So we did a lot of $50 increments that ended up being $300,000, and they never ever caught on to what was going on. Well, we have this beautiful place, and it really is a place of worship. It's just been a tremendous thing to be here and to worship with you in this place. You know, one of the things, where did Dennis Krause go? Where is he? Stand up, Dennis. Dennis, whenever we talk on the phone, Dennis always says, and ends it with you, there's always something. And I guess there always is something, but, you know, in the future, and I should talk a little bit about that, but you would never be able to see me just retire to an apartment and sit and look at a wall. And I've never, ever, and I never will watch things like The Price is Right and all those things that I see when I go to visit people that are shut-ins. But in the future, I've got a couple of things. The big thing is my renovation of the shrine to Our Lady of Guadalupe in Endeavor, and you know that I'm sure will be the focus of a lot of what's going on, and it'll probably be as big as being a pastor in a parish. Also, I'm continuing my invocations at different racetracks, and you know, I thank John for being here. We're delighted to be able to come to Elkhart Lake, and I go up to Wausau, and I go to Sun Prairie, and then hit some of the big ones like the Slinger Nationals and the 250 at Kakama. But those things remain a big part of my life, and people in racing remain a big part of my life. And also I've got a number of things. I'm finishing up a novel, and I've got 22 chapters out of 27 written, and I've got a book to write on Matt Kenseth and Robbie Reiser and the year that they won the championship. And I will be getting out to you a phone number. Nobody has my phone number except Becky, you know. And so, but we may change that so that you can get in touch with me. And also I'll have a new address, so I'll be putting all that together too. But thank you. It's been great. It's been an unbelievable trip.
Wonderful.